Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Smiths Falls Equity for All Committee for Thursday, October 9th, 2025. On October 9th, 2025, we acknowledge that the sacred land in which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might be here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and be mindful of generations to come. Call the meeting to order at 9:03 a.m. I need a motion for approval of the agenda. Moved by Linda, seconded by Janet. All in favor? That's carried. The minutes were circulated. We'll have a chance to review the minutes for September 11th meeting. Looking for motion for approval of the minutes. Moved by Katie, seconded by Ellie. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ask for disclosure of monetary interest, pecuniary interest. I don't believe there's any. Okay. We're waiting for our delegation. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead with priority issues. And I think everyone received the proposed draft renoviction bylaw prior to the meeting, and hoping we've had a chance to review it. And so I'm just going to open it up the floor for discussion. Just to frame it for anybody who's watching, the committee has received I think it's 2 delegations on this topic in past meetings. Renovation's a process that we experience within our community across Ontario, probably across the country and parts of the world. But essentially, it's an area. It's an item when a landlord may not follow due process and may try to evict a tenant under the guidance of necessary renovations. So the term is renoviction means really they're trying to evict people through that disguise of necessary renovation. So some municipalities in the province have already passed a renovation bylaw that would provide the municipality with greater authority to ensure that if the landlord does plan to renovate a unit, there's some steps he or she would have to take, or the corporation would have to take, to get approval to do the renovations, and at the same time to accommodate the needs of the tenant. So we've had some delegations on this topic. We have a draft bylaw in front of us, and I just want to open it up for discussion. Katie, sorry?
I wasn't able to read it all because I just got it yesterday, but
Yes.
I was thinking that she used Brockville's.
Hamilton.
Was it Hamilton?
I think Hamilton's, yeah.
Oh, okay. And that is the person that we spoke to,
Yes.
that we had on. Yes, okay. That's fine. That ruins what I was going to say, so. I was going to say that if it was Brockville, we could talk to maybe somebody in Brockville and see how they did, how that works for them, but we already know that, so.
Yeah. Hamilton has led the way.
Yeah.
They may have been the first or one of the first. So I think the principles are consistent. I think there's a few things we have, and I didn't see the fee amount within the bylaw. That's one thing I noticed.
I didn't see that either. That's what I was just double checking now.
So there is, and that's something we could talk about. So what a applicant would have to pay a fee to the municipality, to the town, to seek approval for eviction requiring renovations requiring the removal of the tenant, at least on a temporary basis. And the pros and cons, of course, if the fee's too high, you're afraid that people may not follow due process, may try and step away from it in order to avoid a high fee. But at the same time, this process would create extra work for staff. So from a cost recovery standpoint, we want to try to ensure that the fees generally cover the overall cost to the municipality, to the taxpayer. So I believe the fee
was 600 per unit. I think I have written down here.
Okay.
I think that's a little high for For our area?
Yes. And that we we don't have to necessarily have a recommendation to council as to what that fee would be. That can be further working can happen there. And we're fortunate to have our Manager of Development Services, Carol Granke, here for a presentation and delegation shortly. But this would be within Carl's department. And so it may be a matter of working with Carl to help determine what kind of cost would the municipality bear from a human resources standpoint in order to process an application for essentially renoviction. That's not the right, it could be the right term when we're in the middle of all this, but essentially a temporary eviction in the need for renovation. So I agree. I think a lower, I don't know, 300 or 400, maybe or 250, whatever, might be more appropriate, because we don't want to put it up to the point where people are going to avoid the process to save money. Any other thoughts on the draft bylaw?
No, I like Katie didn't get a chance to read through it all.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So overall, so the bylaw we're seeing in front of us has also been, as I say, it's a mirror image of what we've received in the delegations in the past. So the question, I guess, before us is, do we feel we're at the point where do we want to advance this to council for consideration for the municipality, essentially? We've got a pretty good understanding of what this means now.
Yep.
And Ellie, in your professional world, something you probably see with some of the clients that Cornerstone works with. I've had numerous experiences of people in town who have reached out to me and not knowing where else to go to say, look, my landlord says I've got to move out. I've got an N13. What do I do? Linda Tranter from Leap with Connecticut has had an opportunity to review this as well. And she hasn't provided any comments back, but if she does, we can accommodate that within the framework.
Yeah.
Great.
So I guess if there's no further comments on it, and we're confident this is something that will is very important for our citizens, especially considering almost half our citizens rent their homes, meaning obviously many are vulnerable to this tactic, because that's really what it is. And I think we brought it forward in the first place because we believe it's something that can provide some protection and a degree of security and a due process. So I guess I'll look, is there, who would like to move a motion that Smiths Falls for Equity for All Committee advances the draft renovation bylaw to council with the I don't know what the right wording is, but with the objective of consideration of putting this in place for the town.
And like we can still fine tune it a little bit.
I don't. Once
Or
we
the council fine tune.
council would, yeah. Once it leaves here, I guess it would be up to council. Or would you like to have another month to take a look at it and a final decision then?
I'm good to move it forward.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Okay. So you want to move that?
Yeah, sure.
Katie,
Yeah.
second.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Will the fee go in there from council? Will they come to that?
Yeah. So I think we didn't indicate there's no fee in here now. So what we're advancing would be the draft.
Right, okay.
And this would ultimately go to Carl, who I suspect who would have a good chance to review it, and then it would come to a committee of the whole sometime in the relatively near future. And I can work with Carl as well as with Clerk Costello in trying to determine the appropriate fee.
Yeah, I think it's important to get it in place as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you get a wording there for the motion?
I did, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
I know that's sort of
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank
even as
you
I
for
was thinking,
checking.
it doesn't always work well.
Yeah. no.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So we're going to go back into our agenda to Carl Granke, the Manager of Development Services, is here to talk about our community improvement plan. And maybe Carl, if you can start, 'cause I'm not sure about everyone's familiarity with a community improvement plan and what it means. Just a general, I guess, discussion on what it is, what it does, what the objectives are, etc.
Certainly. And firstly, my apologies for being a few minutes late at an 8:30 meeting that kind of bumped in. So I do apologize for that. I also, I guess this is a fairly content heavy report. So this is not the deadline for feedback by any means. I think we're just opening up a conversation here, but As the mayor had indicated, the community improvement plan, it is a policy document. It's been adopted by council in 2022 under section 28 of the Planning Act. That's the section of the act that gives the municipality the ability to essentially provide municipal incentives in a planning framework to focus public and private sector investment on items of broader community good. So and support development and redevelopment of properties that improve the working and living conditions of the town. So the community improvement plan we have now was adopted in 2022. It replaced a downtown focused one in 20 that came in 2015. The one we have now focuses on four main themes: brownfield redevelopment. So that's supporting development of contaminated sites. It's very expensive otherwise. And accessibility enhancements, so making public and private spaces more universally accessible to all residents, both the interior and the exterior. Attainable housing, supporting housing that is more affordable than sort of market rent, and providing incentives on that regard. And finally, downtown revitalization, including both facades and the interior. So. The topic of this report, and certainly the feedback I'm interested in from all of you, relates specifically to the housing and making sure that we have that one right. So there are 15 programs in the CIP that cover those broad themes. There's a little bit of an overlap, so I think some like an affordable house or an attainable housing and a brownfield redevelopment can stack for maximum bonuses. So if you're, for example, developing a contaminated site to have attainable housing as well as developing that contaminated site, that's a very important development that we do want to succeed. It makes the town better in a number of ways. So the report summarizes what each of the 15 program areas do, or what each of the 15 programs do, what they focus on, and the appendix outlines some of the sections that are the most specific to MHC. So I think I'm certainly not expecting that everybody's gone into a really, really deep dive in all of that in the time you've had the report. So I think, again, I'm just providing an overview, and I'd welcome feedback from any of you over the next couple of weeks as we do this. So just operationally, every year council decides which of the 15 programs we activate, and then set aside a budget reserve to fund those programs. So the CIP itself spells out the evaluation approaches. So accessibility, brownfield, and attainable housing are typically evaluated by and graded by planning staff on a pass-fail basis. So if it meets the objectives, it meets all the criteria, the eligibility criteria set aside, then typically it would be supported by planning staff, and ultimately council will have the final decision. Downtown revitalization, those programs are evaluated by a working group of staff in a variety of departments, because there is a little bit more of a subjective element as it relates to design preferences. So, and again, council has the final say. So as we work through the plan, there really is a need to go through. We've worked with it for a few years. We want to make sure that it's working right and working as intended. It does involve municipal investment into public goods, so it's especially important that we make sure that brings value to the community, and we're investing in projects that really make us that council's proud of. So there's a couple of catalysts to this review. Certainly some implementation, interpretation challenges we had with the intake earlier this year, as well as the integration of a Heritage Conservation District plan that might be coming down the pipeline later on this year. Kind of gives us an opportunity to sort of assess heritage-specific CIP program areas. But I think it also gives us the opportunity to look at the housing as well. So the report identifies some high-level issues we identified for consideration, and some of those are policy, which can be adopted by council. Some of that is procedural, which is a process set out by staff to basically implement council's direction as best we can. So with respect to the attainable housing programs, I think it's fair to say that we don't really have a whole lot of experience with them. So we funded one additional residential unit program in sort of the time that the CIP has been in place. However, council's been continuing to keep these programs open because if that opportunity and that support is there, then we want to, that's a very helpful tool in our toolbox to get good development underway. So I think, so the terms of reference for the committee here, they spell out a mandate to advance policies, initiatives, and supports to advance Smith Falls as a welcome, diverse, and inclusive community, and housing is identified as a core pillar. So the CIP and the report outlines how we define attainability, and basically how that is enforced and implemented in a funding agreement, making sure that spelling out the expectations if somebody is getting a tax abatement or some other incentive for attainable housing, that's verified and actually happens. But I think it's important to note that the way the document is prepared right now is it recognizes that, at least as it relates to CIP supports, the private sector is going to be the key deliverer of attainable units, and we want to make it worth their time. If a unit is $500 less expensive than another unit, then that is obviously something that they need to build into their budgeting process. The plan tries to find that right balancing act between creating an incentive that's attractive enough for a project to actually be viable and get constructed, but also we look at those numbers here, the 1,055 for a bachelor apartment, 2,110 for a 3-bedroom. On face value, that those rental figures to qualify for attainability they're fairly high. So I think just trying to find that right balance, recognizing that the private sector is ultimately going to be delivering the project. So I think we want to make sure that all of these are in place as intended. So I think I might not be able to answer every question, especially as it relates to financial elements today. But if I don't have an answer to a question, we can certainly follow up and get you that. But I have a couple of very broad questions here. So is the tax rebate threshold minimum 6 units, rebate 50% of tax increment outlined for the rebate program reasonable in balancing the financial sustainability for the municipality while offering a robust incentive to a developer? Are the criteria outlined in section 4.2 of the CIP plan? So that's the italics piece in the report outlining what the developer needs to, I guess, commit to in order to get and sustain the attainability piece. Are they reasonable? Are we missing anything? Or do you see any policy or funding barrier preventing the more frequent use of these programs and supports? So the CIP is a neat quote. It's a neat thing. It actually is something we want to be offering these incentives. We want people to be receiving these incentives because that's going to improve the quality of life in our town as a whole. So with respect to the attainable housing, we haven't seen a lot. Development as a whole has been a little bit slower due to various economic conditions over the last few years. But we want to see these programs used. So if it's simply a market thing that's going to correct itself and maybe and naturally evolve into them in coming years, great. But if there's something that's missing, then we want to capture that. So in terms of the overall process, at this point, staff are consulting with committees and stakeholders who are involved in the different sections of the CIP. We've already chatted with the Accessibility Advisory Committee chair. We've chatted with the Municipal Heritage Committee and officials from the DBA as well. So we're going to continue to have these conversations over the coming weeks, and staff are going to be bringing forward what we've heard to council that'll potentially direct some changes to the CIP. So I think any feedback that this committee has either today or in the coming couple of weeks would be very helpful for us to know and to research if we need to. So I'll end there and pass it back to you, Mr. Chair. If you have any want to share what the committee's thinking.
Okay. Well, thank you, Carl. And so as Carl mentioned, the current plan's been in place since 2022. The original plan was drafted and approved by council in 2015. From a housing standpoint, obviously the one that I think I mentioned before, the one that stands out the most would be, of course, for the tax increment, tax abatement essentially, was 44 Chambers Street. And so as a not-for-profit, Caribridge Community Support that owns that, we had the previous council committed to providing essentially the tax rebate prior to construction. So it was basically approval in principle, which helped give Caribridge the confidence that obviously we would follow through. So when they're doing their planning for development, they're in that situation, 34 regular to income units and another 6 deeply affordable. So this tool gave us the ability to do that. As Carl mentioned, there is the additional residential unit program. We've had 1 or 2.
One.
So, and it's a great program. If someone wants to create an additional residential unit within their home to help create some rental income, we want to see it being affordable. But we've had only the one uptake, and actually, Carl actually prepared a guide that could help people, homeowners, understand what it means and how to go through the whole process. So that's available on the website. I'm not sure if there's a print copy available as well, but there is too. So we've made some initiatives. Sometimes communication may not reach everyone. Maybe it's repeated communication to do so. But so I think, as Carl mentioned at the start, there's a lot of pieces within this, but the one this committee obviously is aligned with and focused on would be housing and the ability to help create and sustain affordable housing in our community. So you had a chance to look at this. I understand some of the elements here that can help incentivize affordable housing. So look for feedback from the group.
The most important thing is getting the information to the people, because I don't know, how did we do it before?
Well, I think it's sometimes we'll do a blast of information, but then maybe we don't think about it again for a year or two. So it's Carl?
Sorry.
So when we're pre-consulting with on development applications, if somebody is coming through our office door looking to build multi-residential, as an example, typically we'll bring in our planning clerk who administers the CIP program. We'll bring her to the table, and she'll prepare or present a guide and sort of summarize the program. So if somebody's already through the door, then we have that application
That's easy.
That makes them aware. Other than that, as the mayor mentioned, we have news releases and so on. I'm not sure if they get to necessarily, especially as it relates to the housing piece, I'm not sure if they necessarily get to where they need to. We focus a lot of our direct outreach on downtown projects, but it is, the programs anyway are integrated in the application intake, at least, so that folks are aware that is there and may be tempting.
Is this available for like all homeowners?
The attainable.
For homeowners who might want to add a room in their, or an apartment on their house, is that part of the?
It is,
Yeah.
yes.
So we have to let them know all that.
Because it's not just beneficial to someone who's got an affordable home to rent, but with a homeowner, that might be the difference between being able to afford a home and not afford a home, right? That rental income, and that rental income counts when it comes to qualifying for a mortgage too. So, and Carl, under law as well, both provincial and here, someone could actually have 3 units on one lot, correct?
That's correct. The legislation has changed since the CIP came in. I think we'll be looking at the development charges program as well, because the development charges rules have changed due to provincial policy. I wanted to clarify, the attainable units rebate applies for, the tax abatement applies for multi-residential projects. The additional residential unit, so the 1 unit, maybe 2 units, that there's no requirement that those be attainable. This just supports the construction of those units and pays people back some of the large amount of costs that it creates that it incurs to develop that unit. But it's administratively chasing and enforcing affordability requirements on a single additional residential unit is it's an extra layer. So
Mhm.
technically, if somebody gets that grant, there isn't any way we can't prevent them from, say, renting it out. Or actually, no, I think short-term rentals are excluded, but we don't have a way of, there's no sort of income testing or means testing to make sure, or rent testing to make sure that that attainable unit is, or sorry, that coach house or granny suite is attainable. So I think it's important for the committee to know that, and one of those things, obviously, that we can assess through the review whether or not that makes sense, or whether we should go that extra step and try to require that. I think the challenge with that, of course, is once we give the money, the tax abatement, that's a 10-year term. So the CIP spells out all of the documentation they need to provide us to be eligible for that tax abatement. And if they can't prove that these units meet that criteria, then they don't get their taxes back and they pay the full amount.
Mm.
With an attainable unit, with an additional residential unit with the coach house, most of what we fund is upfront. So once the construction is done, and if we were to put in an affordability requirement as a condition of that construction, but we've already rebated them the money, then
Mhm, mhm.
there's not much we can realistically do at that point. So I think that's kind of that's
Yeah.
another reason why that's in place, or why that's not in place for the coach houses. But I think it's fair to say that anything is on the table to make sure that we are getting value for money on that.
So Carl, are there any potential affordable housing related CIP initiatives that are not part of our current CIP that you're contemplating?
At this point, I'm not looking at developing new programs, just potentially fine-tuning the programs that we have to align with legislative changes and making sure that they are enforceable and administratable as spelled out. But certainly, if the committee has any ideas, then I'd be very pleased to take a look at that.
So I guess so we're looking at the rest of the front programs. Well, universal accessibility is only for commercial, or is it for residential as well?
The policy itself is silent on that. We're administering it as anything that is publicly accessible.
Yeah.
So if it's a common entrance for an apartment building, for instance, that would be one thing, but not, say, an individual apartment within that unit.
Okay. And that would require changes to consider individual situations would require a change in the CIP.
Yes. So eligibility would be a policy. If we're adjusting the eligibility of a particular program, then that would be a policy piece, because that might impact the financial outlay.
Because in reality, I think there's probably a number of people in our community renting their homes, but they're in a home that may not necessarily work for their needs based on physical layout and the limitations someone may face if they're in a wheelchair, but also if they're using other mobility aids. So there's nothing in place to support or incentivize a landlord to make the improvements needed to accommodate someone. But is there anything under the law that would compel a landlord to accommodate the needs of a tenant who have
Building
special requirements?
building specifications. But
Yeah, there's not, I know what in our housing task force, or the housing advisory committee, one of them, we looked at there's within the building code and multi-res over a certain number of units, they have to have a certain number of units which are, I believe, universally accessible. But I think once you only get to a certain threshold, a certain number of units, and Carl will explain that better.
Yes, I believe that's 6 units. If it's a minimum of 6 units, that there's that there needs to be barrier-free path of travel through and to a threshold of those units. Is your question related to if a need were to arise in an existing unit,
Yes.
does the landlord have a responsibility?
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have a look at that as it relates to.
So with existing, so I guess that would be if I guess my question would be if there would be a consideration or it may make an amendment to the CIP to provide under universal accessibility an amendment to that program that would take it beyond publicly accessible spaces. In other words, could we provide incentive for either homeowner, if necessary, or a landlord to make accessibility improvements? I'm not sure if that's other municipalities or have such a program. I'm not sure if that'd be problematic, but understanding there are people who are living in homes that don't really work for them, I'm wondering if that would be a consideration. Other than that, it's the development charge rebate, which we have in place today. So we can only waive up to the full development charge. This waives the whole amount, correct?
Or it defers it.
Oh.
Let me see. Well, you're correct. A rebate of up to 100% of the DCs associated with.
Okay, so we can't do better than that.
Oh,
And then if we look at building permit fee and planning application fee rebate, that's up to 10,000 maximum, I believe.
Yes, actually, just to correct, and this is a wording thing, and I've continued reading the section about development charges. It then goes on to state that only the municipal portion of DCs are rebated, and furthermore, they are not waived outright. The DCs are to be paid when due and shall be reimbursed. Oh, never mind. Yes, it's a little bit of a,
Yeah,
sometimes the wording is a little bit, it's a bit clunky, but yes, it takes a little bit of time before somebody gets theirs back. The reason that particular section is being looked at is because the province has instituted waived development charges for what they've defined as affordable housing. So we just want to make sure that we're not going somewhere that they're not, that we're aligned procedurally. That program may not even be applicable anymore if the province automatically does that. So that's something for us to be researching before we take this to council.
And that's in program 4, just as a cap on it, correct? The amount of fees we would waive.
I don't see a cap.
Okay.
I think in the grand scheme of things, planning application fees at least and building permit fees are not a massive chunk of the cost of developing a project overall, but it is every bit helps.
I think with 44 chambers, it was 10,000 what we had rebated on that application. Okay, Ellie, you had a question?
I was just wondering when you needed feedback by.
If feedback within the next 2 weeks would be very helpful. We're largely going to be done our sort of roundtable consultations by then, and assembling all of the information we've obtained.
So I guess one we can maybe a little more discussion would be 5, the tax increment rebate. So the previous CIP, if I'm correct, would allow a tax increment rebate of up to 90% or 100% of the increase in taxes on qualifying residential construction. that this CIP indicates, for 10 years, this CIP indicates maximum of 50%. So is that one item you'd like to have some feedback on? Should we be looking at going beyond 50 as an incentive? Or, if so, would we apply that to both the private sector or potentially just a not-for-profit sector? So I guess for one example, so for CareBridge Community Support, we also have a memorandum of understanding or agreement for the future development of parcel of land on Robinson Avenue that the town owns. I think I mentioned this before. So, and we've had conversations, and I think a lot of it is waiting for some of the hopefully positive federal announcements regarding funding for affordable housing. But in the meantime, today, if CareBridge came forward today and said we're going to go ahead with a project under the current CIP, the maximum tax we could rebate would be 50% for 10 years. So not as much as what they received on Chambers. So I'm not sure. I know that was very meaningful when they do essentially their pro forma, their financials for the project on Chambers, that enabled them to provide additional units beyond the agreement with the county at a deeply affordable rate. It's hard to say for sure whether how much more they would do if this was more than 50%. But I think this is probably an area we'd like to have some feedback on. And Carl probably appreciates some feedback because it's an area where it fits within our key pillars and trying to incentivize housing, affordable housing. Comments, thoughts?
Nah, I gotta go through it and read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, okay. And then the ARU would be the other one, right? And it's 25,000 cap now, I believe.
15,000 plus 5,000 for additional top-ups.
Okay, 20,000.
So up to 25,000 if it meets all of the top-ups.
Okay. Okay, so if everyone wants to, what we'll do, Giselle, if you can have Carrie follow up with everybody via email, just to provide a deadline for feedback. And then it won't be the group feedback, it'll be individual feedback, which Carl can take into consideration, obviously.
So just with respect to the ARU and really for all of these, just to highlight as well, I think sort of the balancing act that we all have to play is that typically every year council sets aside between $100,000 and $150,000 for the CIP, and that covers a lot of ground. A couple of 1 or 2 additional residential units, if they achieve the full funding, that eats up a significant portion, and that kind of relates to what just means there's potentially less available for downtown, or if there's a couple significant accessibility enhancements. So those are, given the limited funds that we typically have to work with and the wide discretion that we as the administrator of the program have to sort of prioritize which areas we want to fund. I think that is, I guess, the best caution or the best note that I can make here, because we are typically the funds are somewhat limited. So I think one thing we will be looking for direction on from council is how do we prioritize if we have a lot of really good, meaningful applications, which ones move to the front of the line. So I think that's why if we were to get, say, 5 additional residential units in a year, then we're probably not funding any downtown projects. So those are that's the balancing act, the interesting balancing act that we all have to play with. I guess the financial reality that we hold.
And sorry, maybe you don't know offhand, like what is the surplus of ask that you normally get versus what you have to give?
Within the last couple of years, we've been fairly close to the maximum. There's a couple of projects that have been screened out that didn't get any funding. But what often happens over the course of the year is projects don't get completed for whatever reason, so money goes back into the pot. but we haven't been at the situation, we haven't had the situation yet where we've had to turn away a large number of very, very strong applications. And I'm not sure if that's we're not reaching people or how that happens, but obviously that can change if economic conditions change or somebody has or we get a glut of applications of a certain kind.
All right, thank you.
And understanding that it's nothing's 100%. So if someone wants to do a downtown facade improvement, what's 50% we'll cover?
50% up to $10,000 with a couple of top-ups that can go up to potentially $20,000. And what we've heard from the Municipal Heritage Committee, for example, is that doesn't go very far at all if you're looking to do a really meaningful refresh of a large heritage property downtown. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs. So $10,000 to $20,000 doesn't go very far. So should those thresholds be increased? So those are the sorts of things that we're going to be looking at based on the feedback that we've been getting from various stakeholders.
So I respect that we want to take more time to go through this, but when do you plan to bring this to council?
I'd like to bring this to council in November.
Okay. So I'd like to just to have a broader discussion on going back to the tax increment rebate, the tax abatement, because I think this is one that I'd like to see us potentially have a decision on. So as it's discussed today, if an applicant comes in, they're going to create affordable units based on the criteria we have for affordable. They can apply for this rebate, and we would rebate half the taxes for the 10 years. As I said, that's less than what it was when Carabridge did started the project 44 Chambers. I don't know if going to 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100% of the tax rebate would incentivize more. So, but I would think with the not-for-profit sector, with a mandate of providing affordable housing, then I think it would potentially stand as, I think, a direct correlation between the taxes they save and the number of affordable units they can do in a development. So I would like to see if we should have a recommendation to increase that to more than 50%. So Ellie?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if the builder is doing, say 8 units for affordable, are they getting the tax rebate on 8 or 4?
On 4.
Okay.
Thoughts?
So then, yeah, I agree with you.
I agree.
I
It
think
should,
it should be 90, 100%.
yeah, I was gonna say 75, but
If it's on the affordable ones only,
Only on affordable ones,
then
yes.
yeah, absolutely. Especially if you've got not-profits coming in like Carabridge. Like, we want them to do that more.
Yeah, and say for Carabridge, the 66 ground floor units, bachelor apartments there, they're all people living with disabilities. And it enabled Carabridge to provide all those at essentially basically rent geared to income levels, right? It's very low rents.
Would it be complicated to do like a tier system? So if it's affordable or attainable, 75%, but if we're gonna do deeply affordable, 6 deeply affordable units, then it's 100%.
affordable and accessible,
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, like can you
something
tier
along
it or
those lines.
stack it a little bit? Like it's gonna be universally accessible. Okay, you get another 10% off.
I think it depends, through you, Mr. Chair, it depends on how we administer it. So I think we can run some numbers. Certainly if we go from 50% to 100%, then there's going to be an impact on financial, sort of what the finances are for the municipality, but those are numbers that we can run and give council that information to make that decision. If we were to say, have a higher threshold if somebody is a not-for-profit versus a sort of a market developer, including attainable units within that unit, then we can have a look at that and see if that's going to be cumbersome for us to enforce and document over the life of the agreement. These are things that we can all look at.
Yeah, because surely, like, I get it, it's going to be money over 10 years, but I mean, it's not like we're having 50 affordable units being built every year that's going to change the income for the council or for the municipality, right? Like, yes, it's a lot of money, but when we're looking at the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money to change it from 50% to 100 because you're not having the capacity of affordable units being built.
You're not getting the money on the land empty anyways.
Mhm.
I think
Yes,
So
yeah,
to speak,
it's on
right?
the increase in the taxes from the empty land, correct?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I agree that it should, I think I'd like to see a tiered type system just to even encourage them more to put in those accessible units.
Yeah, like
The
just
whole
how you
ground
can
floor.
stack these.
Yeah, accessible and affordable or deeply affordable, or, you know what I mean? Just, it would only have to be the three. Sort of.
Or you could just split it, market 75% nonprofit, 100% or something.
Yeah, something along those lines, but we do want to push to the accessible units as well as affordable.
Yeah, accessible, deeply affordable, and
Because-
nonprofit, because nonprofits are going to keep them affordable forever, where a private market rental only has a 10-year to 25-year mandated, right? And then they can flip them right back to being market rent.
And accessible units, people on ODSP, they're, I mean, it's not much money. That they
Yeah,
get,
like-
so
What were these prices? What was it? 155,000.
it was,
Like if you're on OW, like you're still $400 short.
exactly. So,
So it's not that affordable.
no,
So we made some consensus here. So I think that the key theme is certainly we would like to see that tax abatement increased from 50 to a higher number if it is a not-for-profit applicant. Is that
Yep.
fair to say?
for sure, yeah.
And if the unit is universally accessible, we'd like to see even a higher
Yeah.
incentive.
Yeah.
So going back to, would we provide capital up front for universally accessible, or we simply include it as part of the tax abatement? Maybe it's easier to do as part of the tax abatement. So, and prior to 2022, was it 90% or 100% of the increase for residential?
the 100% of the
100,
increase
okay.
for residential, that only applied in the downtown area.
Yes. So how about I'll suggest if we, for a not-for-profit, providing a affordable based on the term, on the criteria we would stipulate. So I don't think like 80% of market rent wouldn't be an appropriate measurement. I think I'd probably no more than 70, maybe even 60. Rent guaranteed income is going to be hard to enforce without a subsidy from the county. So how about if it is a attainable housing with a not-for-profit developer, then we would be willing to go at 80% abatement. And if it's universally accessible, 100%.
Yep.
That sound
That seems fair.
reasonable?
I think so, yeah. It just encourages them to add the more.
Because the extra 20%, so let's say the average taxes for an apartment in town, let's say it's $3,000 a unit. It might be a little bit high, but so if you're getting a 100% reduction, there's $3,000, $250 a month that you're saving. So that provides that extra incentive for 10 years. So that's $30,000 plus inflation on that.
Yeah.
So the Cambridge project, I guess as an example, I think it was 700,000, over 70,000 a year, I think initially. So it's probably $1 million over the lifespan of that abatement.
And that's for 10 years, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so would anybody like to move a motion that the committee's, I guess, feedback on this would be that we ask the town to increase the tax abatement available through program 5 to 80% for attainable and 100% for universally accessible attainable housing. Anyone like to move the motion?
Sure.
Ellie, seconded by Lewis, okay. All in favor then? Okay. Gary, thank you. Carl? Yeah.
Just to clarify the committee's direction, you're looking for 80% for all attainable or just 80% for
Not for profit.
not for profit? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I missed that part. Okay.
So the 50% would continue to apply. Your suggestion is the 50% would continue to apply for market-based attainable housing, but I guess the upper tier would be if it's a not-for-profit and or universally accessible, that would potentially get up to 100% back.
Are we gonna add the 20% for universally accessible to the market?
What's it? Yeah, going from 80% to 100%.
I know, but that's for not-for-profit. So what about a
Oh.
public or a private
Yeah.
developer? Are you gonna give them the 20% if it's universally attainable? I think so.
I think we
Yeah.
should, yeah. 70%.
Okay. Do you want, Ellie wants to move an amendment, I guess, to that motion?
Alright.
And all in favor? I'm sure Giselle's captured that perfectly. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on this before we let Carl go back to his regular work?
Carl's like, get me out of here.
That was great.
Yeah, I think that's very meaningful, and it fits perfectly within the objectives of this committee. Excellent.
No, I think it was important that I had this conversation with this committee. You are a stakeholder in the CIP and achieving the objectives set forward. So this is not the last conversation we're going to have. If anything comes to mind, I gave the same advice to MHC earlier this week. If anything else comes to mind, once you've had taken a deeper dive in there, by all means, send me an email. I think I appreciate the motion, but don't feel limited necessarily on that. If any of you do want to provide some additional feedback anywhere in the CIP, not just the housing related pieces, then I'd be very happy to take that back. But I think as it relates to this, and we'll run some numbers with my colleagues, so I can take that to council, and council can sort of make an informed decision as to how they want to do that. And I think at the end of the day, our objective is that these programs are used and that they make differences to people in our community.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks so much, Carl.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, moving forward, we already looked after the renovation element of it. Working groups update. So as you're all aware, we've got the two working groups, one on the 20 with Village Eve. We had a meeting with representatives from Village Eve 3 weeks ago, I think, roughly. Linda's saying yes. Okay, thanks, Linda.
Yeah.
Very insightful. They were very well prepared with many of the areas they would like to see, I guess, leveraged through this relationship. And then we met just, I think, last week as a working group to discuss those things further. And so I guess no major updates at this stage, other than we know that there's Carrie's made some outreach, including to Duncan J. Schooler. And they are very keen to get involved. So that's sort of the first step. Big Brothers Big Sisters, I spoke to them as well. They are keen to get involved. So we're starting to make strides. I don't know if we set a date for the next meeting or not, but either way, that will be within the next couple of weeks.
Did we not mention the high school too at one time?
We mentioned that, but we haven't made any connections there yet.
Yeah, okay.
So that's encouraging. It's moving forward in multiple ways, and we look forward to continue to enhancing that relationship. And committee member Mark Payne is in Ukraine right now. He was in Lviv when it was attacked on the weekend, I think it was. But he will be meeting with Mayor Harinkiev and some of the people in Zolochiv next week.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And we
Want to be back by November.
Yeah, and we gave him some gifts to bring with him to share. So
Okay.
it's pretty neat that we have someone from here who's going to have a chance to make that first person-to-person connection.
Sure.
And on the food insecurity front, we met again probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was after this meeting anyway, and we had a number of stakeholders together. Very encouraging. Not everybody was able to be there, but we had a really good discussion, trying to primarily initially help identify some of the realities. The health unit has certainly circled back more recently, saying their updated numbers are suggesting probably 1 in 4 people in our area are food insecure. And of course, the whole housing issue and the high cost of housing creates greater food insecurity. So being able to keep people in their homes they're in right now, again, with the potential of our eviction bylaw, helps enhance food security because they're not as much at risk. All these things tie together. But so we're meeting again this afternoon, and we'll have a broader discussion about how we try to start working towards some solutions, understanding the realities at the schools. The school meal programs are highly utilized. The food bank's feedback is that they're seeing higher numbers of users, regularly in excess of 1,000 people. Seeing, I guess one of Natalia's comments was, those that used to be our supporters are now our clients. Concerned about even fundraising, the ability to be sustainable. Falls Food Hub, a lot of positives happening. Maybe Jen, you want to maybe provide a little update on what's happening there because it's really exciting.
There's lots happening with the Falls Food Hub. We continue to get more and more people every week. We actually are open this Monday. We're going to give it a go and see how many people.
Take out turkey dinner?
Takeout. Well, it'll be like a turkey stew,
Okay.
but it'll be a takeout. So I think we're going to get a lot of families. So we're looking forward to that. The updates at our new place have started. So that's very exciting. Hoping to get in there at the beginning of the new year. And yeah, that's...
Planning for the Christmas dinner?
Oh yeah, the big Christmas, the holiday feast on the 17th of December. We're expecting, we had just over 300 last year, and I'm expecting more.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's going to be even more crazy, but I expect probably closer to 400 this year. Just because of the food insecurities. So.
And it's a great event, but
It's a lot of fun.
people, when I got there and it wasn't that late, people lined up at the door, right?
They were lined up
On the other
before
stairs.
the door even opened. So
Yeah.
we have meetings, a couple of meetings coming up that we're gonna try to alleviate that so people aren't standing out in the cold. Maybe advertise a dual sitting so only 100 people are waiting outside. But I mean, I wish we could bring them all in at once, but we just don't have the space
No.
for it. So.
So when it comes to, I guess, food insecurity, certainly that's making a difference, but it helps.
And once we get our new place up and going and we get into a routine there, I think we'll be able to bring in maybe another day. You know what I mean? Like slowly add on. Like right now we just do the Monday lunch. So
Mhm.
maybe, I don't know, a Tuesday supper and then a Wednesday lunch. Because Perth does the supper, and I know people can't get out there, but we don't want to duplicate exactly what Perth is doing. Just so that people, maybe they can go lunch here, supper there.
Yep.
So just to add to what they're already offering. So we're hoping to slowly add to and then get the programming in there too, to teach people cooking skills that some people don't have. Like if they get the boxes from the food bank and they're stuck with a bag of carrots and a bag of potatoes, and they're like, now what?
Yeah.
Some people just don't know. So we're going to hopefully teach that, you've got this chicken and here's how you cut it up and here's how you stretch it for 3 or 4 meals.
Yeah.
So that's the direction we're headed anyways.
We do supply recipes too.
Oh yeah, every meal.
Every meal. So if you
yeah.
want to make the same thing you've ate.
A lot of people are taking those too because they enjoy the meal at the food hub. So they grab the recipe and now they're able to make it at home because the chef does a really good job of keeping them simple ingredients, simple recipe. So we're hoping that helps as well with the food insecurities, which
Very good.
there's lots of.
Okay. Thanks for the update. So again, we're meeting today, I think 4:00 as a group to advance the discussions. The final one was something come up after the last meeting. Anyway, it was something that someone saw in Perth and sent to me. It's sort of Welcome Your Neighbors initiative. And it's simply like stickers or posters you can put in your place of business that says in 3 different languages, no matter where you were from, we're glad you are a neighbor. I don't know if anybody's seen this.
No,
No.
that's
That's
amazing.
cute.
So, it's hard
like
to see
that.
there, but anyway, it's just a place in Perth. I think at least one place has it in Perth. And say someone sent it to me saying, "Hey, we should be doing this in this fall." So, I don't know if we want to do exactly that, but I think there's an opportunity. Just the whole principle of letting people know they're welcome here, and this has been a principle since we had the Racism and Discrimination Task Force, and the reality that. Not everyone is welcoming, and sometimes people are apprehensive if they believe that they may not be welcomed. We know that there is, especially what we're seeing in the U.S., greater pushback, rise in racism and hatred. So just wondering if it makes sense, if there's a thought here that, and even if a couple of you want to just carry this for a bit and just work on even something we could design, something that would just send that message in an appropriate way, and then potentially work, I would say, with our downtown Smith Falls Down Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce to say, could we distribute these to people within our communities? Maybe so. We do have some money in the budget that we haven't utilized, so we could probably invest in either posters or door stickers or something. So I guess what I'm asking is, there a couple of people here who wouldn't mind taking this, do a little bit of work on it, bring it back for the next meeting? And Ellie,
I can do
thank you. Okay, Katie, okay, we get the 2 over here to my left. And then I said, maybe something we can get some of these produced and distributed through town, just again, to let people know that, well, no matter where you're from, we're glad you're a neighbor, you're welcome here, etc.
We wouldn't need probably to, I mean, I love the saying, but if we even just put welcome, we could add like all the languages. We could put it, you know what I mean? We could
Yeah.
have it, yeah, we can just have like 5 or 6 different languages because we are a very diverse town. So then that would include everybody in the town. If we just say welcome, then.
Even welcome, all are,
Or
all are welcome.
Or
or
yeah,
like-
something just, if we shorten the saying, but add more languages.
Maybe want to come up with something, we'll bring it
Yeah,
back.
we'll come
Yeah.
up with something.
All right.
Okay.
Right, Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, put a Canadian flag on there, maybe.
Yeah, perfect.
Sean, do
It
we
is-
still have that big sign beside Shoppers Drug Mart that was glassed in? It used to say a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Did they take that down when they did the street?
yeah, that's been gone.
Because that would have been a perfect place to put that.
Well, again, we can put it, find places where we can distribute, yeah. So anyways, everyone send your feedback to Ellie and Katie then, and then have something come back. I mean, I can see it, obviously, we want it here at Town Hall, maybe at the community center, all of our
Yeah.
municipal, the library, and maybe some different formats. I mean, not just, maybe some as a sticker for a glass door, maybe some as a poster that can be put up, or you guys figure it out.
Okay.
Will do.
All right. Okay, we're scheduled for November 13th, our next meeting. We have a few things sort of in the standing items for discussion in the future. And I guess just before we wrap up, what time is it? We're okay, but anything in a round table, anything anyone else wants
We
to
want to let
share?
you know that Diana is listening.
Oh,
She just couldn't get in on the Zoom.
okay. Well, thanks, Diana. We know you're out there somewhere.
So that's why I'm watching my phone to see if she had any questions to pop up.
Okay.
She is listening, so she's here.
Okay, thanks. Anthony?
I just want to say tomorrow's World Homeless Day. So
Okay.
just a little awareness, education reminder for everybody.
And with cold temperatures here now, it seems, in a few days it changed from too hot to what are you experiencing with Cornerstone? How are the youth managing out there? And
Oh, it's a lot. No, we always see kind of our referral rates go up in September with schools kind of back in gear and teachers having eyes on everybody. And then, of course, with the colder weather, I've been getting messages all morning for mitts and hats and warmer clothes. So we've officially hit that kind of mark where everybody's like, all right, I'm cold. We need some stuff.
What about an advertisement for all the knitters and crocheters to get to work?
Yeah, and need all those things. So that's, where we're at as usual.
So is there a public appeal or is there just something people can do to help when it comes to providing items? If they can't, obviously donations are always appreciated, but I don't know if sleeping bags or nice warm winter coats, or is this stuff you prefer to the money in order to buy it?
Yeah, it's kind of nicer if we have gift cards and then we can take the folks to buy, stuff that fits them and what works for them. We also, like for us specifically Cornerstone, I have a 5 by 10 foot storage space that is my office as well. So we don't have the issue is if people want to donate items, love that. But unfortunately I don't, I've got my basement's full of donated items right now because my storage office space is too full. So the gift cards just are easy. That way I don't have to put it somewhere. And then, we're always looking for full bottles of shampoo and full size bottles of conditioner and razors and that sort of things as well, for the young folks. And so I really am always collecting donations, but we do love our gift cards.
Okay. Okay. Anything further? If not, ask motion for adjournment. Moved by Lewis, second by Linda. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.